Welcome to week 2 of the Book of Mormon. Now, as we get into these particular chapters, Alma chapter 6 through Alma chapter 14, I will probably say this many times and be guilty of this, but I will say it perhaps this week. These are truly one of the most remarkable chapters in the Book of Mormon and some of my favorite because of Lehi's vision of the tree of life. And really what it means to us and what we learn from it. And so we'll talk about that in just the next couple of minutes. But as these chapters begin, we once again see Lehi for a second time tell his sons to go back to Jerusalem. I find it somewhat humorous that in this case they went back to get women, and as a result they didn't murmur. And so it kind of gives the humanness of these particular sons as they went back to Jerusalem. And the thing that I think we don't really give full credit to is Ishmael and his family just listening to the sons, not even Lehi, but his sons coming back and saying, here's what the Lord is instructing us, and here's what we're asking you to do. And for Ishmael and his family to leave their wealth and their station is once again just a remarkable example of faith. That when a servant of the Lord speaks, and Ishmael and his family knew that Lehi was a prophet, when a servant of the Lord speaks, it is as if the Lord himself was speaking. And so here Ishmael leaves with his family, and they go back into the wilderness, and they leave everything behind. I think that's a remarkable, remarkable thing. Now, as they get back to Lehi, they find from the plates who they descend from, and we know that between Lehi and Ishmael, we have Lehi from Manasseh and Ishmael from Ephraim. And so we have these two families with this great heritage that begins again with the story of the Book of Mormon. And I find it also interesting that as Lehi and as Nephi speaks, he is talking about a second set of scriptures that he is told to do. And as you read, I think it is in chapter 6 and 7, and later on in chapter 9, that Lehi is, or that Nephi is basically saying that he is asked to do this for a wise purpose, verse 5, a wise purpose that he knows not, and yet he's going ahead. And how many times in our lives are we asked to do things, or are we put in situations to do things that just don't make sense? And when we have a faith that God knows all things, then the things that don't make sense to us don't hang us up. We're able to move past them, and we're able to have faith that they're going to all work themselves out. And here is a perfect example of faith. God did not come down to Nephi and basically said, you got to do 2 sets of plates because thousands of years after your death, there's going to be an incident in which Martin Harris will lose the manuscript and will have to completely translate from a different set of plates. I mean, the Lord didn't need to go to that level of detail to Nephi, because all Nephi needed to hear from the Lord is, you need to do this for a purpose. And hopefully we can get to that point where we don't ask why, but we just ask, okay, Lord, what do we need? What do I need to do? A great example of faith. Now, as we get into the Tree of Life, chapter 8 of the Book of Mormon, this to me is a chapter that of all the chapters that we read in this particular week and for many weeks, if you can spend time in this chapter and really think about what is being stated, what is being taught to Lehi, I will guarantee you that you will gain a greater understanding of the Book of Mormon. In fact, it is Elder Packer, President Packer, that states that the Tree of Life is the central theme of the Book of Mormon. And as you read this particular chapter, I would ask you to ask, why? Why is that? Why would President Packer feel this way? What do we need to learn? Well, we learn from the Book of Mormon that there's different paths that we can take. And as you see these people clinging to the rod and the different obstacles that they face and what happens to them, you can understand that it's very typical of life. This particular chapter, this particular vision, is a demonstration of really our journey here in earth and what we experience. And so you begin by a parent, Lehi, desiring greatly that his children feel the joy that he feels or felt as he partook of the tree. And I think each of us, once we gain a testimony of the gospel, a true testimony, and feel the joy that it can bring, our first inclination, our first reaction is to bring those who we care about into the same experience. And so as Lehi reaches out, and we know that Nephi and Sariah and others follow, but Laman and Lemuel doesn't, and we see the anguish that Lehi feels. We then see the different pitfalls that are occurring. We see what happens when people partake of the tree and are ashamed. The question you might ask is why? Why would somebody partake of the tree and be ashamed? Why would people fall away into forbidden paths? And what does that mean? What does it also mean, the symbolism of those who did reach the tree and knelt down? And so what does that mean? And what is the significance of that? What is the significance of the great and spacious building? And the people mocking as these people are going down the road, and how we can really liken this to our experiences. Many of you converts are coming from environments in which there's a lot of trials in your life, a lot of people who might be critical of your decision to join the church. So as you read these, I want you to kind of think about that. What's also interesting to me, however, is the fact that when Lehi completed telling his story to his family, the different reactions, how Laman and Lemuel thought that the statements were hard, they didn't understand, and yet Nephi's reaction was one of pleading with the Lord that he may be able to see and experience what Lehi experienced. And just that incredible faith that Nephi had. He wanted to know everything that his father was able to experience. And so because of Nephi's desires and Nephi's faith, Nephi's vision, which begins in chapter 11, is even more comprehensive. How once the Lord sees that we have a desire to learn, the amount that he is able to provide us is endless. And I see just a great application in our lives, that if we really desire to know, if we take something from the scriptures and want to know more, that's when we open the gates of revelation to us. Now, as we continue on in Nephi's experience and Nephi's vision, chapters 13 and 14, and later on in next week's lesson in chapter 15 are remarkable things that we learn. We learn, I think, one of the things in chapter 13 that I thought was interesting is how he sees the Bible, the Bible that we have today. And in verse 26, how we learn that plain and precious things were taken away. Not just plain and precious things, but also how many of the covenants had been removed. And so, here is Nephi getting a real good feel as to what is going to happen, which perhaps is helping him understand at a very early age the importance of what they are writing, because what they are writing will not have people going in and taking away the plain and precious things, because this book, these plates, will be preserved and translated through the gift and power of God. And as a result, I'm sure it was a reminder to Nephi and to his family just how important their record was going to be to their future posterity. So again, as you read these chapters, I hope that you really gain a greater understanding for the importance of Lehi's vision. Once again, we will see the great faith of Nephi and how he is leading through his faith and through his diligence and through his desires. And so I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll once again look forward to your discussion board posts, your weekly journals. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Please email me, or you can text me at my phone number 209-810-8209. I look forward again to this week and interacting with you.